Just to let you know, I'm sorry if there's no real new content in this video because we're going to do a compilation of everything you need to know about Noggin. So I guess we can get started. So here's everything you need to know about Noggin. For those of you who don't know what Noggin is, allow me to explain. Noggin is a brand from Viacom that existed in three separate forms. From 1999 to 2002, it was an internet-based channel for older kids and preteens. Then, it became a channel for preschoolers. From 2002 to 2009, its most recent form is a mobile app that started in 2015. If you grew up in the late 90s to early 2000s, you may have remembered what Noggin was. The same thing goes if you were born in the mid 2000s. In 1998, Nickelodeon, in association with the Children's Television Workshop, wanted to make the first internet-based channel for kids. It cost them $100 million.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
At its launch on February 2nd, 1999,
I just popped in to tell you that Nickelodeon and CTW made a brand new network for kids. It's called Noggin.
it had over 1 million viewers at launch. That's Fred. He was an anthropomorphic pickle and was Noggin's first original host. In 2001, the Jim Henson Company sold its share from Noggin and the Sesame Street Muppets to Sesame Workshop, which left Ooby as the only show for preschoolers. And so, on March 2002, the head of Noggin, Tom Ashide, announced that Noggin will be split into two blocks, one for preschoolers and one for preteens. And so, on April 1st of 2002, this is Feet Face, Noggin's second mascot. Pretty weird, huh? Well, the ownership of Type 40 is that Noggin became what it is on April 7, 2003, and then it became Nick Jr. on September 28, 2009. Now it's a mobile app. Okay, I'm done. No, please, I have to get out of here. Given how Noggin has been important to this channel since the beginning, it's about time we talk about its sister network, The N, or as many of you know it today, Teen Nick. Noggin and the N shared the same channel. Noggin aired from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and the N aired from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. The N was aimed at teenagers rather than the big kids and preteens of the original Noggin channel. The N also had its own website, where teenagers can go play games, vote on polls, or talk about whatever they wanted. Before the N, there was a block called Teen Nick. It first aired on March 4th, 2001, and aired from 6 to 9 p.m. On August 13th, 2007, it was announced that Nickelodeon Games and Sports would be discontinued and the N would take its place. On February 24th, 2009, Nickelodeon announced that the N would rebrand into T-Nick. T-Nick was the only channel post-2013 to not have an HD feed. It later got one in 2016. In 2011, Teen Nick launched The 90s Are All That, which aired 90s Nickelodeon shows, which rebranded into The Splat, Nick Splat, and then finally Nick Rewind before it was discontinued by the end of January 2022. As I mentioned in the history of Noggin, Noggin launched on February 2nd, 1999, which was aimed at older kids and preteens, similar to Nickelodeon, though more educational based. Shows that aired during this time were educational shows like 321 Contact, Ghostwriter, Square One Television, and many preschool shows like Blue's Clues, Allegra's Window, Eureka's Castle, Franklin, and Gullah Gullah Island, and aired many shows from Children's Television Workshop like The Electric Company and Classic Sesame Street under the title Sesame Street Unpaved. Other shows included Crow, Doug, and 123 Sesame Street, which was a rehash of Sesame Street seasons 25, 30, and 31. Interstitials like Deja Noggin, which aired memorable clips from The Electric Company and Sesame Street. The Girl with Her Head Coming Out, about an adventure with a girl and her friends. Head Buzzers, where word puzzles were given to solve. My Wacky Family, where kids showed their household's life of living. Noggin's Choice, in which they will have many clips to choose from, and the winning one will be shown on Noggin. Noggin Gold, in which shared songs from Sesame Street. Nogginoid, in which facts from Sesame Street and other miscellaneous facts would be shown. Out of Your Mind, which aired art sent in by Noggin. Think Loudly, in which children would give their own commentary on serious issues, and What's in Honey's Head, which was whatever that is. Noggin also had its own website at launch, where children could interact with the Noggin characters, and they could even interact with Noggin's mascot, Fred. The Noggimation Station, which children would make their own short animations, to be shown on Noggin.com. And speaking of Fred, he got his own show called The Fred on Your Head Show, where he would introduce the shows and would do some interesting stuff on the show. This was Noggin's first original show, and it wouldn't be its last, because on April of 2000, Ubi premiered. It was a show for preschoolers. It's a little weird, but it was a Noggin staple, staying on the block until the channel's rebrand. More interstitials like A Walk in Your Shoes, in which two children from different lifestyles would switch places for the day. More new shows like The Busy World of Richard Scarry and Bill Nye the Sky Guy. And as you might have figured out, Noggin was weird. And I mean very weird. However, this wouldn't last because in 2000, they would switch out this 90s look for a cleaner cyber age early 2000s look. Not to say that Noggin stopped being weird, but it was definitely toned down. Eventually, most of the original interstitials and bumpers would be phased out. Also in 2000, a block on Nickelodeon called Noggin on Nick was made in order to give people a taste of what Noggin was all about, which aired most of the shows in Noggimations. There's The Hubbub, which had commentary on shows which were featured at Noggin.com, a bit like a live chat in a live stream. Shows that aired during this block included Ghostwriter, Walk in Your Shoes, and Bill Nye the Science Guy, and Big Kids, which had premiered in 2001. Later that fall, Noggin made some big changes with the URL Fred Show, which was a spin-off of the Fred on Your Head show.
In this show, Fred would display polls, Noggimations, music tracks, high scores on various Noggin.com games, birthdays of users, and outfits designed on the URL with Fred Show Studio in Noggin.com.
Even had its own game show called Sponk, which aired from 2000 to 2001. Other changes included freeform poems, which express themselves on Noggin website, and other history on Noggin website. On December 2001, the Hubbub was discontinued. And you know the rest. In 2001, the Jim Henson Company sold its rights of the Sesame Street Muppets to Sesame Workshop, which left Ubi as the only show for preschoolers. Then, Tom Hashine announced they were going to rebrand Noggin to two blocks, one for younger children and one for older kids and preteens. And so, on April 1st, 2002, Noggin got a brand new refresh. It was now a preschool channel running from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. with a new mascot, Feet Faced, which was equally as weird as the other mascot. Even so, Play With Me Sesame and 123 Sesame Street stayed on. In its place, Noggin had a block called The N,
though it was mainly focused on teenagers, which focused on more mature topics. The block had a more arts and craftsy style more than the original Noggin. Shows that aired included Little Bear, Franklin, Blue's Clues, Allegra's Window, Golgo Island, and Kipper. Sesame Workshop got its own show called Tiny Planets, which aired in 2002, which featured two aliens, Bing and Bong, who go to other planets and learn about lessons along the way. A new interstitial series called And Then What Happened, which aired fairy tales in which a child will give their own ending to the story. Then, in 2002, Sesame Workshop sold its share of Noggin to Viacom. This didn't affect programming, however. This left Viacom as the only owner for Noggin, but they needed a new branding for it. So, they traveled all over New York for ideas. It was Amy Freeman who decided that it should be focused on a preschool style format. And so, the Feet Face era of Noggin ended its run
on April 6, 2003.
On April 7th, 2003, it had an even more arts and crafts style format and introduced two new mascots, Moose A. Moose and Z Bird. This is Sponk. This was Noggin's first and only game show from 2001 to 2002. And this is its story. In September of 2001, the Noggin channel received some changes, one of which was a game show called Sponk. On September 10th, 2001, one day before a day I will not mention. It was an in-perf comedy contest in which two teams would compete to collect the most points by the end of the game. There were two teams, the red team and the blue team, which all had the same people for the entire run, unlike most game shows. Sometimes a person from the audience was invited onto the stage. The contestants were Scott, Lori, Tim, Ali, Miles, and Vanessa, hosted by this guy named John McClane. Every episode contained 5 games, each having 1 or 2 minute rounds. Viewers could also send in suggestions for themes on the Noggin website. The winner for each game would get 100 to 250 points, and the team with the most points would win a Sponk trophy, which was a golden rubber chicken on a stand. The audience would decide who did better on each game using a spattle, which was a circular disc made out of supposedly foam. Whoever color spattle got the most shells would get the point. Also, grand prizes were given out to Noggin users, like a Panasonic CD player, a Cybeco, and a Lyra 2 MP3 player. In addition to submitting ideas, they could also play Sponk games on the Noggin website. Sponk also aired on the Hubbub, which was basically an early version of live streams on YouTube and other social media. Sponk also had its own contest called Big Sponk on Canvas Sweepstakes, where the winning person would get to hang out with the kids of Sponk and get their own Sponk trophy. The last new episode aired on March 3rd, 2002. This was because the split between Noggin due to the lack of children's programming. The show reran on the N until January 1st, 2003, as well as various Sponk polls. Noggin became a preschool channel only because of low ratings, and not the reason why I gave it.
In 2015, the Noggin app launched, but not even 4 years later, in 2019, Noggin got a complete refresh.
Almost immediately, they took away the Noggin branding that had been around since 2003, and over the next year, they started removing Noggin shows, although Moose and Z remained, and so did the interstitials. But their role as hosts had ended, because in the next year, they introduced the Noggins, who became the new host. They introduced new programming with Noggin Knows, and they introduced a brand new logo to coincide with the rebrand. Now, The logo was a slightly modified version of the Nickelodeon logo. And also, the app now tried to be more like the Nick Jr. app. It's similar to the Nick logo, but purple. In December of 2023, they introduced Nogginville, but it couldn't have come at a worse time. On February 15th, 2024, Paramount laid off the entire Noggin team, and not long after that, it was announced that the Noggin app would be shutting down. This was likely because Paramount is on debt and needed to make back some of its money. A message on the Noggin app said that you can catch all of your Noggin shows on Paramount Plus, even though the team just got laid off. Well, goodbye, Noggin. We'll miss you. Peace. Bow.
We're gonna say goodbye to the trees and bees. Say goodbye to the hole with the ants and the mole. We're gonna leave our paints, set them out to dry. Put our pencils down and wave goodbye. We'll wave goodbye to the number 10. Say goodbye to all the numbers and then we'll say so long to A through Z. Until next time when you come with me. It was a fun day, but now it's a done day. It's time to say goodbye. It was great and we can't wait till once again we all say hi. But for now we'll say goodbye. We must be on our way, on our way. We will shout, I used my noggin today. I used my noggin today.